Hey guys, in this lesson we will learn how to add and subtract polynomials like these. But before we get started, remember, pencils down. Do not do your homework along with this video. First do the assignment by yourself as best you can. Then check your answers using the answer key that I posted on Edmodo. Then and only then will you watch the video, skipping to the problems that you got wrong or left blank, and even then, still no copying. Redo the ones that you got wrong by yourself later. So, pencils down. Alright, enough of that unpleasantness. Let's get started. Okay, take a look at problem number 1. When you are subtracting polynomials like this, you have to be very careful with how you deal with the second polynomial. I want you to treat this minus sign, the subtraction sign, like the -1 that it is. So before you remove the parentheses, you want to distribute that -1 throughout the second polynomial. So what I'm going to get there, -1 times -2 is a positive 2, so put plus 2x. Negative times a negative is a positive 2x. And a negative times a positive is a -5. So it changes the signs of everything on the right. Meanwhile, the polynomial on the left is not going to change. There's no negative sign here, so there's still a 1 there, but it's like a positive 1. And if you were to distribute a positive 1, nothing would change. So essentially, you can just erase those parentheses. So I'm going to bring that down. So that'll be -x squared minus x minus 3. Now, like we have practiced in the past, simplifying from here is all about combining like terms. So let's start with the things that are squared. So this and this, these will be like terms. Okay, -x squared and positive 2x squared. And yes, this -x squared is like having a -1x squared. We don't write the 1, but it helps you think when you are combining like terms. So when you put these two together, you're thinking -1 plus 2. And -1 plus 2 is 1. So this is like having 1x squared. Alright, but we won't write the 1, so we'll just put x squared. Alright, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. I just wanted to make it really clear what I'm doing. And so next, to like terms, we have this -x, and we have this positive 2x. So this is like a -1x. So -1 plus 2 is still 1. So that's going to be positive 1x, except for we don't put the 1. And last but not least, we have these like terms, -3 and -5. If you combine -3 and -5, you are going to get -8. To be clear, when we are combining, you can always think of it as adding. So when we combine -3 and -5, we are doing -3 plus -5 is one way to think about it. So that is going to be -8. Now, most of you can do all of this in your head the same way I'm doing. There are a few of you that you've never been able to wrap your mind around this. So I encourage you to keep practicing. If you come in for help, I can show you little tricks, like, oh, -3 is like having 3 negatives, -5 is like having 5 negatives. Put them all together, that's 8 negatives. We'll do things like that. But also use the calculator a lot if you're just really bad at adding. So for example, -3 plus -5 is -8. So normally I do not encourage students to use a calculator So I want you to try to understand, try to do it in your head, but put it this way, check your work. I just don't want you to sit there getting the wrong answer over and over and over again, and meanwhile you could have been using a calculator to save you. Okay, but come in. If that's you, come in for help and I will teach you how to do it properly. Okay, anyway, so that's number one. So I explained that one really thoroughly. For the rest of these, I'm going to talk much faster. Okay, so it's the same thing. This is like a -1, so we must distribute that -1. That'll give us -3x and -2. Okay, if I bring this down, I have -5x squared, -x plus 5. Combining like terms. Well, the -5x squared, there is no x squared term over here. So that's just going to come down unchanged. -5x squared. Alright, just bring it down. Okay, now back to this. -x and -3x. Those are like terms. -x is like -1x. So -1 plus -3 is -4. So these two make -4x. Okay, and finally we have the constant term. We have 5 and we have -2. Put those together and you get +3. Okay, and you're thinking 5, +5 plus -2. Okay, or 5 plus -2 is 3. Alright, so that is going to be your answer for number 2. Number 3. Okay, treat this like a -1 just like before. Do your distributive property. Alright, and this is like a -1c. So -1 times -1 is +1. Alright, and I'll just leave that there for now. In the end, we won't put any 1s in front of things. But for now, I'll say +1c squared. -1 times -4, that's a +4c. Okay, and now I will bring down this part, which is positive. So 3c squared plus c minus 5. Time to combine like terms. So I've got the 3c squared and the 1c squared. Put those together and you get 4c squared. Notice when you're combining like terms, the variable part doesn't change. It's not like multiplication where c squared times c squared is c to the 4th power. You just add the coefficients and leave the variable part the same. Okay, there is another like term here. +c and +4c. Of course, +c is a +1c. So 1 plus 4 is 5. So that'll be 5c. Okay, the -5 constant, this doesn't have a constant term. So I will just bring down the -5 unchanged. And that will be our answer for number 3. Okay, number 4. Alright, there's your -1. So distribute that -1. -1 times -4 is a +4. So put plus 4h. -1 times -4 again is a +4. The first polynomial is positive, so you can just bring it down. 2h squared plus h plus 3. And again, this is like having a 1h, which I'll just put temporarily. So combining like terms, we have 2h squared. Whoops. Okay, there is no h squared term, so that one is all by itself, so we'll just bring it down. So we'll have 2h squared. It has no like term. But the 1h and the 4h 1 plus 4 is 5. So that'll be positive 5h. Okay, and finally we have the 3 and the 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. So there is your answer to number 4. Alright, number 5. This is the first one that doesn't have a minus. It's not subtraction, so I don't need to change any signs. So I can actually just erase the parentheses or ignore the parentheses. Okay, there I've erased the parentheses. So you could either just recopy or ignore the parentheses whenever it's addition. So this 4x squared, there is no other 4x squared. So this does not have a like term. So I will just bring this down unchanged. So 4x squared. You really want your polynomial to be in standard form. So I'm purposefully started with x squared because that's the highest exponent. And now, rather than doing the 2 and the 5, I'm going to look at the 4x next because that's the next higher degree. Alright? X squared, then x, then the constants. But the 4x term, there is no other x term. So that is also going to just be brought down unchanged. So that leaves the only like terms are the 2 and the 5, the constant terms. Put those together and of course you get 7. So this is your answer, and you should put it in standard form like this. So don't put the 7 in the middle or anything. Alright, number 6. Back to subtraction. Okay, with the subtraction ones, you have to distribute this -1. So -1 times -2 is positive 2x. -1 times positive 3 is -3. This one is positive, so I'm just going to bring everything down unchanged. So -x squared, and it's like a -1x squared, if you will, plus 5x plus 4. Alright, the x squared term doesn't have any partner. It has no like term to go with. So now I feel silly for writing the 1. Okay, so I'm just going to bring that down. Okay, so there's my -x squared. The 5x does have a partner. Alright, positive 5x and positive 2x are like terms. 5 plus 2 is 7, so positive 7x. Alright, positive 4 and -3 are like terms. Alright, put those together and you get 1, positive 1. Okay, and again, if you have any trouble doing this in your head the way I'm doing, all we're doing is we're doing 4, because positive 4, and you can always think of it as addition. So it's 4 plus -3. You can think of it that way. Alright, and if you still can't do it in your head, you can just use a calculator. 4 plus -3. Okay? Okay. That's number 6. Number 7. Alright, just for my state of mind, let me see how many of these there are. Alright, so about 12. Alright, so I've done several of these now really thoroughly, so I'm going to really start going fast now. Because if you understand the 6 I've done so far, probably you can really do anything. So probably no one's even watching the video anymore at this point. So I'm going to go super fast. Let's see. There's a -1 right there. So we will distribute that -1. So this will be -3x squared plus 2x plus 5. That's an ugly 3. Alright, the first polynomial will stay the way it was because it's positive. That's an ugly 4. Alright, maybe I shouldn't go that fast. Start with x squared because that's the highest degree. There's only one x squared, so we will just bring that one down the way it is. Okay, so negative 3x squared. Then let's move on to the x terms. We have negative 3x and we have positive 2x. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. Okay, so that's like negative 1x. Alright, but in our final answer we won't put any unnecessary 1s. And the constant. These are like terms, the two constants. 4 plus 5 is 9. So that'll be positive 9. So this will be your answer to number 7. Alright, number 8. Because this is addition, you can really just ignore the parentheses and start looking for your like terms. Okay, the d squared, there is no other d squared. So let's just bring that down the way it is. 2d squared. Now let's move on to the d terms. Negative 5d and positive 3d. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. I said negative 2, but then I didn't write negative 2. Alright, so we'll put negative 2d. Again, if you need it, go negative 5 plus 3. That's negative 2. Hopefully you don't need it. And the constant terms, 5 and 3 make 8. So that will be your answer to number 8. Alright, number 9. Again, it is positive. So we can just ignore the parentheses and start combining like terms. So we have negative 4w squared and positive 3w squared. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. So that's negative 1w squared. We will not leave the 1 as part of the answer. So negative w squared. Next, let's do the w term. So we have positive 3w and positive 4w. Together, they make 7w, so plus 7w. And finally, the constant term, so negative 3 plus negative 4. Negative 3 plus negative 4 is negative 7. Okay, if you need it, do it. So that's negative 7. So this is going to be our answer to number 9. Okay, number 10. It's addition, so let's ignore these parentheses. There are actually no like terms. We will start with the 2x squared, but there is no other x squared term, so we will just bring that down. 2x squared. Then we'll do the x terms. Well, this 4x is the only x term, so we'll just bring that down. Positive 4x. And then all that leaves is the constant. So we'll just bring that down, minus 3. By the way, never put plus negative. If you're tempted to write plus negative something, just put minus. So that is your answer for number 10. Okay, 2 more problems and we're done. Okay, back to subtraction. This is like a negative 1, which we must distribute. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2. The first polynomial I can just bring down unchanged, so 4x plus 5. Like terms, 4x and negative 2x. 4 plus negative 2 is 2. So that'll be 2x. And like terms, positive 5 and positive 2, the constants. Together they make 7. So 2x plus 7. And finally, number 12. Again, it's addition. Goody goody. We can ignore the parentheses. We don't have to change any signs. So just ignore the parentheses and combine like terms. 4x squared, there is no other x squared. So we will just bring that down unchanged. 4x squared. Now the x terms. We have two of those. We have negative 2x and we have x. Alright, remember x is like 1x. So negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So that's like negative 1x. Am I going to keep this one or am I going to erase it? Well, there's your answer. Okay, lastly, we have negative 1 and negative 2. Okay, negative 1 plus negative 2. You can always think of this as addition. And that's going to make negative 3. So we'll just put minus 3. So that's your answer to number 12. I hope that was helpful, you guys. And I hope you didn't copy off the video. I hope you are doing all of these problems by yourself. Either way, I will see you on the next video.